iPhone 17 Air just released out and it's just 5.6 mm thin. But honestly, who is asking Apple or any other smartphone companies to build the thinnest possible phone ever? Let's talk about it. So the September event is finally gone live and Apple has introduced a bunch of things. And the most important and the most overhyped thing of this era of iPhone 17 is iPhone 17 Air, or particularly iPhone Air. Now it has been more iterative why Apple is focusing that $1,000 price bracket. You see, back 4 years then, there was the Apple who has released the first mini phone of their version on the lineups of iPhone 14, iPhone 13. That mini failed massively. There was not much of, all the phone was good, there was not much of sale which Apple has gotten up to those point. Then Apple just take it for 2 years and granted it and just left those features out and introduced new model in those $1,000 price point, which was iPhone 16 and 15 Plus. Now this Plus turns out to be following the same path what iPhone mini was following up. People was not even recommending to looking at those phones. So they again have used it for 2 years and they haven't find much of a rocking deal. And again, after 2 years, they have been pushing their limits to introduce the latest iPhone 17 Air. And this turns out to be a lot more than what you actually think it of. And thinness. Apple has a very dark and deep relation with the thinness of the phone. This phone is 5.6 mm. And the last time Apple has tried to build the thinnest possible phone, it turns out to be miserably not good for them, actually. So you all remember about those bending of iPhones, which was very much overhyped and hyped as well, like the iPhone lineups. So it has been turned out Apple again focusing on those thinner possible phone. But this time it has been more likely to be public usability. So again, talking about thinness, this phone is made up of titanium instead of aluminum. So the other iPhone 17 Pro models is made up of aluminum. So previously they have, branded titanium as a new modern era of phone manufacturing, but it's not for those, manufacturing of thermal and all those kind of stuff. But this iPhone Air is again made up of titanium instead of aluminum. So heating of the phone, the thermal condition, because the phone is so much thin, you cannot potentially fill much more thermal intensive thing onto those phones. But it will be interesting to see what Apple has made in those phones to be more cooler than any other models in that 1,000 price bracket. Now if you have seen iPhone Air, you've seen that the backside Play-Doh kind of appearance. It's not because of a design, it's just because Apple has put in much more stuff like whole chipset onto that Play-Doh thing, and so that they will be getting more room for the battery to fit inside in those 5.6 mm area. Talking about display, it's a 6.5 inches OLED Super Retina XDR display with a Pro Motion up to 120 Hz, very high outdoor brightness up to 3000 nits. And talking about the Pro Motion, this iPhone is also amongst the whole lineup to get the Pro motion up to 120 Hz. And this is a Pro Motion. Why? Because it adapts itself towards the 1 Hz up to the 120 Hz according to the scenario, and also the always on display is also capable of this thing. And it's so much likely to be this much phone thin and then so much good amount of display what you're getting. Talking about camera though, there's only one camera in the back side of the phone, which is 48 megapixel main camera. That camera turns out to be more like compressed version of two cameras into one stuff. But it's likely to be followed on to those perspective of Apple making good cameras. So the camera is overall good. The overall pictures of somewhat like iPhone 15, the base iPhone 15. So looks good, feels good, and that, overall AI stuff which Apple is filling up to makes a lot of sense in those phones. Talking about chipset, which has been severely most important aspects of this iPhone 17 Air. Now, iPhone 17 Air comes with the A19 chipset. This will not be the peak line of A19, but somewhat in middle of the normalized A19 and the A19 Pro, somewhat in the between. And this one will be potentially giving much more power, efficiency to this iPhone Air to be working out much more profoundly and more intuitive. So the overall performance bump is somewhat around twice of that iPhone 16, the baseline iPhone again, and it turns out to be good for a one generational gap. Talking about selfie cam, it's an 18 megapixel front facing camera, and there's a new feature came in this iPhone whole lineup. Is like there would be a new center stage camera. It's not particularly center stage, like it will compress your image. So at the end, the main question is, should you buy this phone? Well, if you see the people who often compare those phones of, the thin phone with the bulky phone, do not often think about what this, phone actually does. So if you tell a normal people, like, would people ever consider the iPhone 17 Air as a phone? And will they might be, actually taking it and, using it for a month straight? And they will say, yeah, who the hell is, recommending an iPhone 17 Air, like the thinnest phone? What you will do with this thinnest phone? And it's somewhat true, but it turns out to be, when you actually use that phone in hand, like if you hold that phone, it feels like you're actually not holding a phone, you're holding a small piece of folded kind of paper which does not weight much. So the same feeling goes for S25 Edge and same for the iPhone 17 Air. It turns out not to be so much important to be phone less weightful, but for some people it might be much more efficient and much more versatile for their own use. So some people might recommend holding that phone and then using it for a straight long, because it might be helpful for them holding a not so bulky phone and a thin phone and lighter phone. But you still have to configure about the mindset that this phone will not be as much good as the base iPhone 17 Pro, as the base iPhone 17 as well. If you see, you will not get a proper amount of same camera which iPhone 17 baseline is getting. So you will be compressed with the pictures which you are being taking. If you are carrying this phone all the long time, and if you are somewhat sort of casual picture maker, so you might be carrying this phone, but not so good amount of picture you will be getting the output. The second thing, this phone is just for the eSIM users, because the Apple does not have gotten much more space to put that whole physical SIM inside the phone. So they have globally announced that this phone will only come with the eSIM model. So you have to figure about, if you're used to eSIM, then you're good to go. But if you are used to that physical SIM and constantly changing the SIM from one mobile phone to another, it's not for you. And iPhone 17 Air might be not a good option for you as well. Now, the another thing is about the thermals. So if you see back in the US heat waves, we have seen the titanium iPhone Pro Max, which have some sort of good cooling technology, also very much delicate in those heating scenarios. Sometimes it just shows that iPhone has heat in so much that you have to cool it down. Sometimes just shown iPhone cannot handle this much heat, just shut it down, or we are waiting for some amount of time to let it cool or something like that. iPhone 17 Air turns out to be of the same titanium build, but with not so much of room to put a very much good vapor chamber cooling inside it. So it has to be some sort of thermal issues which people might face using this phone. And with a 19 chipset, this might be will be at a peak. And at the end, this premium design, some sort of, comes with a premium pricing as well. At $999, where you get a lot more options of the lower end phones, as well as some pro phones to be going beyond that. And if you are very much into the used market, you might be getting iPhone 15 Pro Max at the same price point, $999. So you can still get the Pro Max model of iPhone 15 with the same software, with some sort of same cameras, and some sort of, not the same camera as iPhone Air, but will be more good cameras, more good overall thermal conditions as well. And overall phone is good. But again, that the thin phone and thick phone has a difference. And that difference should be identifiable for you. So in conclusion, it completely depends on your choice of it. If you are good with those, bulky phone and keeping in the pocket, right, it's good for you. And if you are, trying to adopt new technology of, thinnest possible phone, the iPhone 17 Air could be the first choice of yours. So at the end, Apple is trying to adopt some new form of technology, and maybe in future we'll be getting all the iPhone 19 models to be this much thin, and more than models to be more thinner than that. And Apple has announced that now we are shifting towards more of like the potentially saving aesthetic of the phone. So might be a good option, but might be a bad one as well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Till that time, until iPhone 19 comes with that thin possible size, keep vibrating just like a quartz.